ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। In the 47th shloka, the most important shloka that guides every human being, irrespective of what their gender, caste, creed, nationality, doesn't matter. It is a Siddhanta. Siddhanta, a principle. Siddhanta does not depend on our belief system. If I believe it, it works on me. If I don't believe it, it doesn't work on me. It is not dependable on our faith or belief. It is Siddhanta, means it is a principle. And that principle, which irrespective of how much I understand or how much I don't understand, it will have its effect. It is like nature's law. Even to this day, there are those that say, there is gravity, there is no gravity. I have only one thing to say. If you say that there is no gravity, gir ke dikhao. It applies equally on both those who believe it and those who don't believe it. When you are dealing with electricity, if you believe in electricity, will it give you a less shock? If you don't believe in electricity, just because I claim ignorance, will it spare us? Can it ever be a logic? Somehow in the field of karma, we have come to assume some wrong baselines. If I am ignorant of something which I have done, I should be pardoned. Nature's law doesn't work that way. Whether you knowingly do it, unknowingly do it, consciously do it, unconsciously do it, willingly do it, unwillingly do it. ये भी बहाना नहीं कर सकते हमसे करवाया गया था. Unwillingly. It will have the effect on the one who is doing it. There is no way running away from the field of karma. And the only way out is the last moment where you kick the bucket, where you leave the body. Until then, there is one or the other kind of karma. You may not be doing the present kind of karma, but it will be some different kind of karma, but nonetheless it will be karma. As in Bhaja Govindam, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji says, the field of karma may change. Balastavat krida saktaha, tarunastavat fashion saktaha, taruni saktaha, vruddhastavat chinta saktaha. But that continues to persist. It continues to persist that we are in one or the other kind of field of engagement. बच नहीं सकते. And then it leads to the next assumption that we make, which is also a wrong baseline. There will be some time in my future, some intersection of life wherein I will not have to do anything in life. After I retire, after the children leave the home, after their wedding is done, after their first child is born, there is never ever a time wherein you would be in an intersection where there is no work to be done. Therefore, many of us in this modern times, we interpret to have fun is when we are behaving irresponsibly and showing no attitude of compliance towards our responsibility. Classic example, every weekend. Oh, whole week I have really worked hard. Therefore, TGIF. Thank God it is Friday. Because Saturday and Sunday, weekend. Therefore, on Friday evening, happy hour. For who is that happy hour? By indulging in that happy hour, you are losing your wallet, you are losing your health, you are losing your stability. You are not getting anything, you are not gaining anything. For who is it a happy hour then? For the fellow who owns that shop. So on weekends, how early do we get up? People make that reason. On Sundays, when we have meditation class, Vedic chanting class and various other things offered, early in the morning, Swamiji, weekend है यार, कौन उठता है उतने सवेरे सवेरे? When you mean that it is a weekend, do you mean to say that you have stopped living? Everything is procrastinated. You don't get before breakfast time. You get up way after breakfast time. Now, if you eat at that particular time, it is neither the breakfast time nor the lunch time. Therefore, it is brunch time. And because you have eaten late, how do I say between lunch and dinner? Dinner. I have never seen people use that. And then late night snack. And indulge in something to watch, something to party, something to do. And again wake up late Saturday, Sunday. Why? I have really worked hard during the weekend. During the week. And therefore the weekend should be anything but related to my responsibility. And we teach that irresponsible behavior by our way of functioning to our next generation. And then when you expect them to be diligent, disciplined in the time that they have, they are in their head. You don't follow it. You expect me to follow it. How fair is it? You have several Brahmastras which you use on the kid. You will do exactly as I say as long as you are living in this house, under my roof. So the kid comes to a conclusion. मैं अपनी मनमानी तब करूंगा जब मेरे पास पैसे हों. Are we setting a right standpoint for ourselves or for those who look up to us? There is never ever a time frame in our life where responsibilities are not there in life. People think just because they have retired and they have no job to go to, they have time. See, by then, they have already lost their health, they have lost so much of just to do the basic needs. It consumes their entire day. That which you could have walked in 15 minutes, it takes them almost 40 minutes. Imagine everything gets piled up. But there is never a moment where there is no action, there is no responsibility in the individual's life. If it is that inevitable, then immediately we conclude it is a pain to go through life. It is the attitude with which you see it. हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, अंदाज अपना अपना. It is purely based on how I view it. What angle do I view it? The same thing can be a beautiful experience. The same thing can be a miserable experience. Depends on how you view it. But the field of responsibility is not a burden or a pain. But instead, it is that beautiful opportunity for each one of us. Why? I'll introduce a couple of new terminologies today. What unfolds for me in this life as my experience, I have often repeated that word. What is that word? Prarabdha. How I face it is called Purushartha. Is this much understood? Everybody on same page? These are old words. Old meaning, I have repeated them earlier. Now I will introduce two new words. Sanchita Agami Karma. What does Sanchita mean? You all understand Telugu, right? All the actions that I perform, the impressions of these karma get collected. Sanchilo vesedi kabatti sanchita. So that you can easily remember. That which gets gathered, collected. How much have we collected? How many vasanas have we collected? If just in this life, it is equivalent to the number of waves on the entire water mass body called ocean. That many we have acquired in this life, times that many lives that we have lived in the past. All those vasanas they have been piled up. It must be mountainous amounts of it. Sanchita, we have gathered, collected. How I face my present life, of the result of my present life, plus this Sanchita that I have gathered, the most probable things that would equip for my next life when it gets designed, ordained by my choices of this life. A portion of that Sanchita, a tiny portion, gets released as a probability of Agami, that which is yet to come. Aane wala. Aane wala kal. That is called Agami. But the entire nature's way of law, Bhagavan's Ishvara's way of conducting, let me put an amount of relief on your shoulders. You really don't have to worry about the Sanchita or the Agami, provided there is a big if clause here. Provided if while living in this life facing our prarabdha, I apply karma yoga siddhanta, enabling myself with chitta shuddhi and chitta ekagrata, thereby this life happens to be my final life. Now what about the Sanchita and Agami? That's why I said you don't need to worry about it. No, I don't worry, but what happens to it? कभी आपने मूंगफली खाया है? Peanuts, groundnuts, salted peanuts, right? What do you do to those peanuts? You roast them. When you roast the peanuts, if you sow those roasted peanuts, do you think it will have the possibility of giving a crop? Because shape, size, nutrition, it has all of it. But while you roast it, what has gone? The ability to give birth to the next possibility. Agami and Sanchita karma is applicable to be a possibility of choice of next birth only if the doer, the enjoyer, the ego continues. If that ego is eliminated, if that ego is merged into that supreme, when the one who is carrying it is not there, whatever he was carrying, who does it belong to? Supposing you have a huge amount of assets, investments, bonds, property, and you die without a successor. You have not left a will. What happens to all of that property, all of that asset, all of the things that you have? क्या होगा? It becomes government property, right? Government is called the totality. It goes back to the totality, not to the individual. It goes merges into the totality. Similarly, all this Sanchita and Agami gets burnt. Just like the ability for that seed to germinate gets roasted, burnt, there is no possibility of it to give birth another chance. Therefore, in the scriptures we hear, the effort is to get past the cycle of birth and death. Because the one who is taking birth and death, that fellow is liberated. Moksha. Moksha means liberated. Liberated meaning from all the sense of limitations, that individuality has been completely dissolved. Once that individuality is dissolved, is there a possibility for that individuality is not there anymore? So let me give an example. Supposing there is an arrest warrant issue. You knock on that door with all your police force from all directions. You have covered the house. You knock in, go inside, only to find, after all this hangama, that fellow has already passed away. Now what happens to that arrest warrant? अब भाई इशू किया है तो किसी ना किसी को पकड़ के ले जाते हैं. What happens to that arrest warrant? It stands null and void. Right? Similarly, the entirety of this Agami and Sanchita gets null and void. So therefore, the individual who is on the path of seeking the highest, you don't need to bog yourself down, worry yourself up with regards to the Agami and Sanchita. All that you have to do is that set of imprints, that set of vasana that has already been allotted. Is that it? No. Along with that which has been allotted, we have also acquired several tendencies in this very life. Habits. Swamiji, it all seems like very fatalistic. If everything is already decided, it is pre-released, do I have no choice? That is where Purushartha comes into picture. Purushartha meaning the individual's effort. Purushasya artha, the meaningfulness that the individual is searching, thereby making those choices. That individual making that choice is based out of their own intellect, which has the impressions from the past. So Swamiji, the choices are actually rigged. No, you can call that the choices are already preordained, provided you did not have the opportunity to educate the intellect, equip the intellect, and empower the intellect to make right choices. Nobody can stop us from educating ourselves to make those right choices. Therefore, Purushartha is the most meaningful solution. Having said that, with this Purushartha, when I perform with various solutions as a solution to my karma, my responsibility, my field of action, we have to now change our attitude of approach to that field of karma. That it is not seen as burden. It is seen as a good opportunity, a second chance given to clean entirely from inside out. Just as different stains have different methods of removing the stain. While eating your lunch or dinner, somebody that was served nice, amazing smelling avakaya. Served. While they were serving, one drop of that oil that was dripping, it fell on your shirt. करोगे क्या? The easiest method, since you are still in the dining room, from the kitchen, first and foremost get. I'm waiting for some prompts. Flour. Godum pin untundi kada, chittikadu. Press it on the spot where the oil drop has fallen. What will it do? It will absorb all the oil content. Then a light detergent with warm water, the stain doesn't stay. Different stains, different stain remover. Now, for the stains of these vasanas, how does one remove? What is the stain remover? Detergent क्या है? The detergent used to remove the stains from our antakarana, which are called the vasanas, tendencies. It is called the selfless attitude of work. And second, dedicating it to the highest altar. But instead of using this platform to unburden ourselves, what do? We create more robust patterns of unhealthy living. We create more and more layers of vasanas. And when asked, why don't you clean up? I was in a university, and to my class, the university students, because they are not being observed by their parents, well-wishers, it's a different lifestyle there. There is this fellow who came, after we had almost started the class, he came running, sat in the chair. Looking at him, hair, no, when you wake up, your hair has been pressed in a different angle direction, right? It has not been properly combed. Even if combed, it is not listening to you. Hair looks like that. There are these white spots on the edges of the eyes. How horrifying it is. I'm giving you a good descriptive so that you can visualize. The shirt, the t-shirt that he's wearing, how is that? It looks wrinkled in every possible direction. Must have stuffed it somewhere, picked it up. How does he know if that has to be worn or not? There's only one test. In the university dormitories, you will have to survive with a powerful. So he takes that t-shirt, another t-shirt. This seems to be smelling less yucky than the other one. Therefore, I'll put that on. So I look at that fellow disgustingly. अभी उठा है ना, सीधा उठते ही भाग के आया ना. And that fellow reconfirms to himself, and then he smells himself. And you know what answer he gives? But I have put on the cologne. I have put on something to smell good. I have put on the cologne. Why are you making it an issue? Can we get along with the class? It is the similar attitude we have towards our life and karma. Instead of maintaining that cleanliness, what do? In order to remove the older patterns, we don't focus on removing. Instead, I over-conceal it with some newer ones which I think I like, therefore it will be better. You have gone out somewhere. And when you are traveling, you forgot that on the table, you forgot a few fruits. Mango season, right? Couple of mangoes, couple of bananas, you forgot. See, if it was completely like the hot season of Rohini Kartika time, your worry will be little less. Instead of rotting, these fruits will dry away. So your problem will be less when you come back. Once the rainy season begins, what happens to the fruit? It will become a biology laboratory. There'll be green thing on it. Do you know what I'm talking about? The fungus. There will be green pores that will, as you move, the dust you will see moving. That one. It would have leaked. That which has leaked has stuck. And the whole room is smelling unbearable. What should a intelligent, sane person do? सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन है, तो जवाब क्या है? First and foremost, open all the doors and windows. Cross ventilation. There is nothing more purifying than the air that will breeze it out. And then the entire center tray, take it out, dump it away. But instead of doing this, if you have those room freshener spray or those room freshener little sachets you get these days, क्या उसको air बोलते हैं, gel. No, there is a brand called AER or AOER or something. Air? हाँ, you got the idea. वो 4-5 लटका देंगे. Do you think that will that will resolve the situation? The stench will be unbearable. Just like this fellow who did not take a shower, put on some attar on the top, it will smell even bad. One day, I traveled in the peak time in our metro here. One day, I got the vairagya enough for entire lifetime not to ever get into the metro in peak time. Buddhi panjay wote get into metro during the peak hour. I thought it had some AC running. It started when the vehicle began, that metro began. But once it began, the AC was shut. All kinds of smells. I must have been a dog in my last life. क्या smell pick कर रहा था? You could smell what who ate. You could smell different shades of, I cannot call it fragrance, different shades of sweat and that smell. On that you add the attar smell, it becomes suffocating. We suffocate ourselves through our karma by not being intelligent and then blame Bhagavan, blame our stars, blame our parents, blame the constitution, blame the governance. Whose flaw is it? It is me who is not looking at it in the right perspective. I am wasting a beautiful opportunity that I have, wherein the existing karma, which is a known devil, as the saying goes, a known devil is better than a known God. You now know what your patterns are. But instead of looking into it and correcting them, what do we say? I am like this only. There are different shades also in that. I am an angry person. What do you want me to do about it? I am born like this. We do not put the effort to take the pain to correct ourselves. If I myself do not take the responsibility of correcting myself, do you think anybody else in the world cares for correcting ourselves? Therefore, it is said, Uddharet Atmana Atmanam Na Atmanam Avasadayet. Don't destroy the opportunity that we have in this life here and now. By understanding Vedanta, coming into the spiritual realm, it does not change your field of experiences. It will be the same field of experience. Just like when you go to an ophthalmologist, eye specialist, he does not take the responsibility of changing your world that you are seeing. What does he change? The vision through which you are seeing that world. He corrects that vision. Similarly, what does Vedanta correct? The vision with which I perceive the world, that vision is being corrected. Therefore, when performing in the field of responsibilities, first, stop looking at your own life, your own responsibilities and your own field of experiences as a burden. Do yourself a favor by not treating it as a burden. Why? It is your life. Nobody is going to carry it for you. Yes, when you are going to a supermarket, and you have carried too much for that day, somebody looking at you, ayyo papam, will carry it for you. This, nobody will carry it for you. If you don't take the responsibility and ownership of it, you will be suppressed in your own burden of your own karma. So first, do not treat this field as a burdensome experience. Second, do not look at it as problematic existence. What do we do in the name of thinking? We worry and we claim that worrying pattern is called thinking. When Bhagavan starts the entire Bhagavad Gita by the message saying, Ma Shucha, you will not grieve, you will not go through the pain, misery, sorrow, though the situation will be unfolding with pain. But it is your choice whether you allow yourself to be impacted by it or not. Ma Shucha. You will not allow yourself to be impacted by it. Refuse to be miserable. Stop looking at our own life as misery. Start thinking, stop worrying. But then we have to understand, why is it that we are taking our worry as thinking and never started thinking? Because we have never seen the difference. I'll give you one way of looking at it. There are several ways. One way, most important. Whenever there is a troublesome situation, what do? As soon as the situation unfolds, ayyayo, there is a problem. Ayyayo, there is a problem. I don't know why, but I think my fate is bad. When Brahmaji was creating this creation, he wrote on my forehead a bad fortune. నాకు అదృష్టమే లేదు. These kinds of things keep happening to me again and again. Instead of looking at for a solution, what we keep doing is constantly boiling over, repeating the pattern of the existing problem again and again and again. Instead, what is the thinking? The one who is intelligent enough to think, they also recognize, ayyayo, problem. Having recognized that there is a problem, they don't keep repeating that pattern again and again. Every person that comes, my problem. Nobody has this kind of a problem in the world. I only have this problem. We keep repeating and seem to enjoy repeating the problem. But an intelligent one, as soon as they recognize, they do recognize that there is a problem. Having recognized and acknowledged that there is a problem, what is the next thing that they do? They start looking for solutions. They don't waste their time in trying to analyze, why do I have a problem? Why do? Drop it. What remains in that sentence? I do have a problem. This is the depth, this is the expanse of that problem. Acknowledged, understood it. Now start looking for how to resolve that situation. Instead of worrying about the patterns of problems, you now start looking actively for solutions. Instead of looking solutions, we get stuck with Arjuna mindset. What is Arjuna mindset? The easiest way to deal with whenever there is a problem. Run away from the situation. Or become an ostrich. What does the ostrich do? It buries its head in the sand. Just because you have buried your head under the sand, do you think the problem will escape? See, our desperation goes to such a level wherein we become an open market for people like they are ready to sell Taviz ki mahima. Try this amulet, your problems will be solved. In the US, Desi channels, they have this amulet business, Taviz business. Whether you see news or any other, in the TV channels, every so often there is this advertisement. They are all from London, UK. All those who are advertising, they give their number as +44. +44 is UK international code. One fellow advertises it for the Hindu crowd. Half an hour later, the same kind of advertisement is for the other religions. So my understanding, the way I looked at it whenever I saw those advertisements, is they must be 3 or 4 brothers working from the same apartment, but each one looking at different kinds of clientele. I thought it was me who was thinking like this and imagining that they should. One day, Guruji, Puja Swami Tejomananji, he was there in Dallas and we were taking him to a place to Bhiksha. There was a very elderly lady. She would watch her TV serials every day. Not that she was a problem to anyone. There are a couple of things that she watches. So she was watching during that lunchtime when Guruji and all of us arrived. You could hear the advertisement, you could hear the thing happening in the upstairs. While talking, Guruji stopped and he started paying attention to the advertisement. Is your business failing? Is your married life in trouble? Are you caught up in loan shark situations? There are like 6, 7 usual. If you have all of these problems, we have a solution. This Taviz will help you. And Guruji immediately turned to me and he said, "Jaldi jaldi जाके वो number लिख ले." And I knew pretty much that he was joking, so I didn't move. What? जाके number लिख. So I ran. So I caught the number, came down, and he said, "Dial that number." And I was like, "Are you serious? Are you really meaning me that I should call that number?" And he says, "For the last 45 years, I have been teaching Vedanta saying problems cannot be removed, it can only be handled. There is an intelligent way of handling. But if they can promise that problems can be removed, we will partner with them and expand their business." But in our utter sheer desperation, what do? We fall prey to such tactics. Maybe it will work. Who knows? एक बार ट्राई करके देखते हैं. जब अच्छी तरह से चूना लगता है ना, then we'll have all the disgust. These shortcut methods will never ever be a solution. The only way is to perform it selflessly, diligently, without reacting to our own life patterns, without rejecting our own responsibilities, and dedicate it to the highest altar. And while doing it, do it with equanimous mind, without any agitations. There will be always polarity in the world. That is the nature of this creation. If there is heat, there will be cold. If there is cold, there will be heat. If there is rainy, there will be dry. If there is sukha, there will be dukha. There will always be these polarities. These dualities will always be there. To expect that suddenly all of these will stop. Why? I have now become spiritual. So somebody who claimed, "Swamiji, I have become spiritual now." So I started looking at him very intensely from all directions. I said, "What are you looking?" I said, "If you have become spiritual, I don't see a halo around you. You know, all the paintings of, those realized ones, there is a halo around them." I said, "I don't find a halo around you. How do you want me to believe that you have become spiritual?" No, Swamiji. On Thursdays, I have given up eating non-vegetarian. I have become spiritual. ये कौन सी डेफिनेशन है भाई स्पिरिचुअलिटी की? सेल्फ अज्यूम्ड. These polarities cannot be avoided. Is there a time on our Hyderabad traffic where there are no vehicles plying on the road? Maybe during COVID time, where the government sealed us confined us in our houses. Roads must have been empty. I was not here, so I don't know. The road must have been empty. But otherwise, in all normal sense, if somebody says, "I will drive only when there is no traffic," Does it make sense? Is it sounding logical? Who is an expert? The one who can drive safely towards himself as to the other people on the road while navigating through the traffic. Especially when you are getting out from this road onto the main road. Why? Everything that which should not be done is done right here around the corner. Once you hit the dead end, you should not turn right. 80% of the people are trying to turn right. You think that is the only problem? No. You will have people, very intelligent fellows, Jugadu people, they will be turning from the left side, which they are not supposed to enter in from. Before you want to evaluate, to be careful, right around that corner, both sides, people park their car. दिखाई भी नहीं देता है. And if you are with the mindset, I will drive on these roads only when there is everybody driving it perfectly. ख्यालों में. It is not going to happen. Then what is the next best? While driving through that chaotic pattern of traffic, you drive safely, efficiently, without losing your balance. Somebody suddenly juts out of their gate, not even stopping to look if there is an oncoming traffic. And you are the one driving in front of who? That fellow just took a entry into that street. Looking at that beautiful driver. You the driver. What is your reaction? Ashtottara Shatanamavali. Teri to. You can fill the blanks. And not just in one language. English, Hindi, Telugu. जितनी भाषाएं आती हैं मन की भड़ास उतनी भाषाओं में. And then roll your window down, put your head out, scream on the top of your voice. Do you think the other fellow cares? Do you think such driving is going to be efficient? Knowing very well, acknowledging that this will be the kind of traffic, you be cautious, you be careful, you maintain the balance and drive from point A to point B in safety. Isn't that the best way to drive? Yes or no? In life traffic also, that should be the attitude. I don't know, Swamiji, I have had problems all this year long, one after the other, one after the other. One of the sessions in Chennai, I happened to be there, I don't know for what reason. Gurudev R. Venkatraman, he was the president. He was inaugurating. The invocation was being done by M.S. Subbalakshmi Amma. R. Venkatraman came late. Gurudev started. And just before starting, M.S. Subbalakshmi Amma came to Gurudev, did namaskar. And she was like, health is not supporting. I have back issues, I have knee issues, I have high blood sugar. And she gave like a solid 4 or 5 minutes about her health. Gurudev looked at her, smiled, That is a good sign. And MS Subbulakshmi Mama, like with wide eyes, like, what do you mean, Swamiji? I'm saying health is failing. And you say that that is a good sign? Yes. That is a good sign to tell that you are still alive. Sickness happens to only those that are alive. What a powerful message. He was not trying to downplay her condition. He said, I acknowledge. And that is a good sign that you are still alive. Sickness happens only to those that are alive. Now cope up with it. Just as in the medical field, when there is some sickness, migraines, headache, cold, people have this very strange attitude. Have you started taking medicines? No, I am waiting. I am not taking medicines. Why? Various reasons for various people. You have a problem, there is the solution. You don't want to apply that solution. I will bear it. See, you have only two options. Either you suffer in English or in Hindi. Am I getting across? Either you transit intelligently, that makes it Hindi suffer. Or go through it with pain and misery, that is English suffer. Suffer is unavoidable. Knowing that there is a solution and yet we don't want to apply, what sign of intelligence is that? In spite of listening to these millions of satsangas that are happening, still, what do we anticipate? Some shortcut somewhere. That person does something and suddenly all your misery is gone. नहीं होगा बाबा. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had cancer in his throat. Many people came to him saying, you talk to Devi every single day. Why don't you ask her? This is nothing for her. Why do you have to... And his approach was, this is bodily. What do I ask her for this? This suffer I have to go through, but I am not suffering. It is the body that has a limitation. I am fine with it. He was not looking for shortcut. When Ramana Maharshi ji had an abscess on his left shoulder, they said, this has to be operated. But then I'll have to put you, the doctor said that I'll have to put you in anesthesia. He said, why? And it will be unbearable pain. Do you mean to say that what I am going through or what the physical condition now is not painful? Just as I am seeing it now, I'll see it then also. And he went through the entire surgery without anesthesia. He said, how are you? Pain is good. He acknowledged it was painful. He said, it doesn't impact me. Am I getting across? To maintain that balance while going through life is very, very important. Just as much as you have to do it selflessly and dedicate it to a higher altar, maintaining that balance is also equally important. Then the next, add on. What is the first step? Do it selflessly. Second step, do it as an act of dedication to the highest, that Paramatma, that Ishvara. Third, he says, align your mind to your buddhi. Buddhau sharanam anvichya. Align your mind to your buddhi. Now, what is the difference between mind and intellect? If I take an example of chemistry, would you all understand? Organic chemistry. मैं पूछ के ले रहा हूँ एग्जाम्पल, बाद में ये नहीं बोलना आई डोंट नो व्हाट ही वाज टॉकिंग सडनली. Do you know what an isomer means? While you look at it structurally, it looks same to same. But its reaction patterns are different. Its texture changes because of how the molecules are aligned to one side or the other side. Its reactions change. Similarly, the internal equipment called antakarana, its structure, it is made up of thoughts, vritti. The entire antakarana is made up of thoughts. Textural difference of these thoughts makes it mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Everybody is wearing a cloth. हाँ बोलो. हाँ. Everybody is staring. It is a very scary thing from here. Everybody is wearing a cloth. Yes. हाँ. But how do you come to know what kind of cloth each person is wearing? You hold the cloth and then you feel the texture. When you feel the texture, you can say it is terry cotton. It is pure cotton. It is georgette. Right? Looking, it is silk. How do you know the difference? दिखने में तो सारे कपड़े जैसे दिख रहे हैं. But how do you know? You test its texture, and based on that texture, the cloth, the differences between the cloth, you are able to identify. Right? Similarly, the textural difference of the thought, we identify it as a mind, mana. We identify it as buddhi, the intellect, chitta, memory, ahankara, the ego. All these four are nothing but thought. Is this much clear? From here on, it will take a steep curve in each definition. What do we call a mind? We call that texture as mind, wherein it is of the nature of indecisiveness. At 6 o'clock, you had a busy Saturday. At 6 o'clock, you are debating. आज के सत्संग में जाऊं कि नहीं जाऊं? पांच दिन का पुण्य तो कमा लिया है. आज एक दिन नहीं जाऊंगा, फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. You're debating. Whenever there is that kind of a dilemma inside, what is the Shakespearean dilemma? To be or not to be. To go or not to go. To do or not to do. Whenever there is that flux, that indecisiveness, that texture of thought is called mana. I'll put both the mind and intellect, both comparing. Therefore, all the pointers can be covered in comparison. So the textural quality of the thought, if it is indecisive, it is called mana. And you now firmly decide, you know what? I should not have this confusion. Therefore, I am deciding, आज मैं नहीं जा रहा. To go is a decision, to not go is also a decision. When the texture of that thought becomes of resolved nature, decisive nature, then that thought is called buddhi, intellect. Is the first difference understood? The textural difference. Now the second. Mind, we think, is a problem for us. But thank goodness the way Bhagavan has created it, it is one of the most powerful instruments that we have been blessed with, to say the least. Through the 5 organs of perception, I perceive the world of objects. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. I perceive. As I perceive it, what does the mind do? It gathers all this data from these organs of perception way before computers. The system, how it beautifully is designed, that the analog data is gathered, it is translated into digital. When it is transmitting to the brain, how is it transmitting? Not as this physical data. It is transmitting it as wavelengths, digitizing it. All this information digitized is getting into the mind. First the physical receives it, digitizes it, sends it across to the mind, and the mind, what does it do? The thought, what does it do? It consolidates each package of data received through 5 organs of perception into one bundle of time-mapped, time-stamped experience. Just to understand the difference, supposing you have a DVD which has been pirated. I'm sure you all have gone through the era of pirated DVDs. Yes or no? Do you have experience with it? Yes? पता नहीं कैसे लोगों से मैं डील कर रहा हूं. Sometimes when that pirated DVD is played, it is utter frustration to watch that pirated DVD because the audio is going at one speed, video is going at completely different speed. We may be desperate to watch that movie, but not that desperate to go through that pain called video, audio not in sync. You will shut it out after 5 minutes. Maybe while shutting it out, forward it for at least 10-15 minutes and see, ये beginning का problem है या पूरा ऐसे ही है. And once you come to decide that everything is like this, then you discard that. Why? It is not in sync. Imagine what a beautiful job our mind is doing. Without a time lag between these sense perceptions data received, it is tying every data together as experience without lapse. Even without lapse, what we experience, there is no understanding, misunderstanding, all kinds of confusion. Imagine if there was a lag. Chaos, oh chaos. Mind does an amazing job. It gathers, but once it has gathered, the thought texture, when it starts evaluating this data, processing it to understand this data, that thought texture which is trying to understand is called intellect, buddhi. What am I holding in my hand? Pen. How did you know? Have you seen this pen before? Maybe, may not be. But I have a general data that which I have of several millions of kinds of pens. It looks similar to that. Inchu. Right? Thereby, I can now understand that it is a pen. Mind that thought texture which can easily understand the earlier experiences and recognizes it immediately. That thought pattern which functions flawlessly in the known field is called mind. Is there anybody who has been in Hyderabad less than 1 year? Nobody? Then you must have tasted this. Have you ever tasted Damadaka Duchi? Have you ever tasted Damadaka Duchi? लीची सुना होगा, Damadaka Duchi सुना क्या? First thing that all of you responded as, huh? What? Say again. So I repeated it second time. Immediately, what were the thoughts that immediately propped in your head? Damadaka Duchiya. Taste. ఎలా ఉంటుంది? పుల్లగా ఉంటుందా? తీయగా ఉంటుందా? ఉప్పగా ఉంటుందా? After going through all those questions, ఉంటుందా? I have been here, गली गली छप्पा छप्पा मैंने हैदराबाद जानता हूँ, ऐसा कुछ नहीं मिला मुझे कभी. You went through the processing of evaluating into that which is unknown. You would not have tasted it because I just created it. But you don't know that I just created it. Therefore, you have started investigating into that which is unknown. That thought texture which has the capacity to pierce into that unknown, to be made known, that thought texture quality is called buddhi or intellect. This buddhi or intellect has that capacity to decipher, understand, and make decisions in the most appropriate order. But our intellect, our mana, is the most indisciplined koranga. Koranga? Monkey. Never has been, it is always addicted to its own habits. Even when the buddhi is trying to tell this mana what to do in the right order, what does our mind react to our own buddhi? SHUT-UP. It shuts our mind, our intellect for good. Our mind tells our own buddhi like this. What happens in the early morning? I'm just taking one example here. Early morning, to wake up, who has put the alarm? You yourself. You decided. In the morning, irrespective of what age we are at, as soon as the alarm goes off, what is it that we invariably do? Do we immediately, good, jump off the bed, quickly rush to the bathroom, throw some water on your face, freshen up, get to the day, get to the work? Hota hai? First and foremost, out of utter sheer frustration. Isn't it? Earlier, while I was growing up, we had an alarm for the entire house. And it had that spring loaded. And it was like a fire engine early in the morning. Our neighbors had an alarm and it would wake us up. That is how loud it was. It had two gongs. Nowadays, smartphone. I saw a boy's phone as he was going through his alarm. He has about 30 alarms. Not reminders, alarms. 6 o'clock, 6:05, 6:10, 6:15. Now people are looking at their phone and like, were you watching my phone? How many of us have more than one alarm for the early morning? Am I stating fact? We have backup plan ka, backup plan ka, backup plan. Our mind has that capacity wherein when there is something that which I am very keen, very interested, I keep the alarm for say ungodly hour, say 3:30, 3:45, because I have to go to the airport, I have to go to the railway station, I have to catch a train, catch a bus. Have you never surprised yourself that you wake up 10 minutes before the alarm? Has it been your experience? That is the capacity of our mind. When it is guided by the intellect, it takes a firm resolution and it is completely sold to that idea that yes, that is the right time for me to wake up. It is convinced. You don't need the alarm. And yet, what happens in the morning? Though the Buddhi is telling, Ore levara, potte kindi levara, ippatikaina levara. Who shuts our intellect down? Our own mind shuts. Whenever we transform our mind to be disciplined under the guidance of our buddhi, see, poor fellow, our buddhi, in every situation, the first thought that comes to the buddhi as a resolution, it is always trying to guide us in the most appropriate path. Who creates the ifs and buts? The mind, the indisciplined fellow. Therefore, the first step added along with selfless work, dedicated to the highest altar, doing it with balance, and the mind completely in the grip of the intellect, guided by that discipline. See how Bhagavan beautifully, layer after layer after layer, he is adding in and making it such a logical sense. Even Freud and Carl Jung failed to give this kind of a depth to the internal psychology of how the mind and intellect works. So beautifully laid out. So now with this, there is one more layer to be added in. And what is that? He says, shloka number 50. Page number 310. Buddhi yukto jahatiha उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्. In the shloka before the last one, yoga was decided and given, the definition given was samatvam yoga uchyate, to maintain that equipoised in spite of the polarities of our experience, maintain our antakarana in balance. But that is only one half of the definition. What is the other half? While maintaining that balance, yoga karmasu kaushalam. Whatever field of activity that we are in, whatever we are having as executables, when we are performing it, do it with dexterity, do it with finesse, do it with efficiency. That cannot be bargained. In the name of spirituality, people take to some kind of unnecessary means of understanding and express themselves in the most uncomfortable, shabby manner. Why? I am a sadhaka, you know. Sadhaka doesn't mean that you are to be a desperate running around. Sadhaka means that fellow who is having finesse, having dexterity, having efficiency with effectiveness. It is not good enough to do good. It has to be done, expressed, shown in the most excellent manner. Whenever you go into the recesses of ancient India, you see the work that our ancestors have left behind. What amazing beauty that they have left behind. Each intricate carving, marble, sandstone, granite, basalt, the hardness of the stones. Have you gone to the Kailasha temple near Aurangabad? The whole temple, usually what we see is ground up from the foundation. They build, whether stone or mortar, they build ground up from foundation up. This temple has been carved from the shikhara into a stone down to the foundation. They have excavated extra, and that entire piece of mountain is basalt rock, the hardest rock to chisel. Must have taken several generations to conclude that. But what piece of beauty! It is not an exaggeration when they say, when the world was running around naked, we had cloth that could be folded and accommodated in a matchbox. The silken cloth. Specific silken cloth which is extracted from lotus fiber, which had that capacity to fold, yet be very, very comfortable and long-lasting cloth. Take it to any field. What amount of efficiency that they lived with and worked in. Earlier, there were no stethoscopes. They would hold your pulse, and looking at your pulse, they would tell what might be wrong. And they would almost be accurate about it. How much, everything that they perceived with such depth, such efficiency, such efficacy, that even to this day we look at it with wonderment. So it is not just good enough to do good. Because many of us make that, I am not spiritual, I am not religious, I just believe. Do good, be good. That is not sufficient. Just doing good, being good is not sufficient. You have to excel in that good and express it efficiently. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. So again, I'll go through the entire list. What is the first step? Do it with a selfless attitude. While doing it selflessly, dedicate it to the highest altar of that Supreme. Second. Third, do it with equanimity, with balanced outlook. Fourth, let that mind of ours be guided by our intellect. कितने स्टेप्स हुए? 4. पांचवा क्या है? While you are expressing it in balance, when the buddhi is guiding the mind, you will see that the output is the most efficient, because kushalatvam expresses through such a equipoised, balanced mind which is being guided by the intellect. If you do this much, you don't need an appreciation, acknowledgement, validation from anybody in the world. Your own tripti is of the highest order. Your satisfaction is of the highest order. You know you have delivered the best that the situation was demanding, and you have not spared even an iota. How do you know that? You get absorbed in that particular field, forgetting everything else. Has it ever happened that you were busy in something, so engrossed in it, that you lost track of time and space? Many painters, many artists, many singers, dancers, they say, I don't know, today I got into the zone. What kind of zone is it? Completely attuned to that buddhi. The skill is expressing with efficacy and most beautifully balanced expression. In that, you lose track of your surroundings, you lose track of time and space. There is just the act being performed. I am not even looking at the crowd. I am not even looking at anybody around who is watching, who is not watching, who is appreciating, who is not appreciating. None of it matter. I am completely absorbed in that act. That satisfaction is unparalleled. But the beauty here is, it is not one-off kind of an experience, where the Western mindset says that inspired expressions cannot be repeated. Whereas our Eastern way of saying is, inspired living is something that which you can inculcate by intelligent habits. That it is not a one-off kind of an expression. Every expression can be that diligently done. Now, for the one who has that kind of tripti inside, can that mind with that amount of tripti get bogged down by trivialities of life? They are constantly high on that tripti. And what can promise us that? Not tavis, not the stars, not even Ishvara. It is your commitment to your field of responsibility. And what is Bhagavan expecting from Arjuna in this battlefield? That commitment, convinced of it, participating in the battlefield, in the field of responsibility. Bhagavan will continue tomorrow. Unfortunately, we will still be, unfortunately, because I had promised that this week I will conclude second chapter. Unfortunately, because the last 18 shlokas, we will do it next month, because they are the very hridaya of entire Bhagavad Gita. Sthita Prajna Lakshana. That we will do the next week. Tomorrow we have. Tomorrow, next 4-5 shlokas, until that Sthita Prajna Lakshana, we will be looking. The 18 shlokas we will see next month. So since tomorrow is the last day, as you are leaving, there will be envelopes provided for the Guru Dakshina. It is what you can support for this cause of spreading this knowledge, spreading this awareness, and bringing Shruti to your doorsteps. So whatever you feel that you can contribute, it will help us do this in much more efficiency. What I usually say is, what Gurudev taught us, giving it to you is my Guru Dakshina to him. Having learnt it, it is your Guru Dakshina to him. So that will be tomorrow after the last talk of this month. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.